Morning, everyone. Okay, we are in Mishna Ma'aser Sheni, Perek Gimel, Chapter 3, Mishna Tes, Mishna 9. Okay, so we have mentioned before that once Ma'aser Sheni enters Yerushalayim, you cannot redeem it in Yerushalayim. And the only time you could actually do that is if it becomes Tamei. If the Ma'aser Sheni became impure, so you can't eat it anyway, that is where we say that even though it's in Yerushalayim, you would be allowed to redeem it. Actually, if it became Tamei, as we'll see that. Okay. Now, so that's the rule. The rule is that once Ma'aser Sheni enters Yerushalayim, you cannot redeem it. Once Ma'aser Sheni enters Yerushalayim, you can't take it out. That does not hold true if the Ma'aser Sheni becomes Tamei. And we'll see what are the laws regarding that kind of situation. Okay? But the halacha is that if it did become Tamei, of course you can't eat it if it's Tamei, because Ma'aser Sheni Tamei, you may not eat it, but it can be redeemed within Yerushalayim, even inside Yerushalayim. And now the question is going to be about what happens about if after it's redeemed, it's been taken out. So Mishna Tes, Ma'aser Sheni shenichnas Yerushalayim v'nitma. Ma'aser Sheni that entered Yerushalayim and became Tamei in Yerushalayim. Bein shenitma b'avatuma, bein shenitma b'vladatuma. Whether it became Tamei with something called a avhatuma, a father tuma, we refer to that as a primary source of impurity, like a sheretz, like one of the 8 creeping animals that the Torah says their carcasses make you impure. Whether it became Tamei with a vladatuma, which literally means something that touched a source of tuma. In this context, it does not mean something that touches a source of tuma that would make this thing that touched the source of tuma also Tamei from Torah law. It is specifically talking about a situation where it is Tamei midrabanan. It's only Tamei according to rabbinic law. For instance, if liquids that became impure touch a vessel, according to Torah law, the vessel does not become impure. According to rabbinic law, it does. Same thing if it were to touch food. So let's say we're talking about here, the case here is when it says whether it became impure, come into contact with a primary source, which means a Torah, which makes something that makes a Tamei from the Torah. Whether it became Tamei from a secondary source, which in this case means it is only rabbinically Tamei. Whether this happened inside Yerushalayim, which means the Ma'aser Sheni entered Yerushalayim pure, but became impure in Yerushalayim. Whether the case is it became Tamei outside of Yerushalayim already, but you brought it in. Beis Shammai say Yipadeh. In all these cases, you can redeem it. You can redeem it because, although it's in Yerushalayim, and the Torah tells us we may not redeem something in Yerushalayim, that's only if it didn't become Tamei. If it does become Tamei, then we may redeem it in Yerushalayim. Nonetheless, it all gets eaten inside, meaning even though you're redeeming the Ma'aser Sheni, and typically when you redeem Ma'aser Sheni, it's chulin, it has no sanctity. Eat it wherever you want. You can be Tamei when you eat it. It has no more sanctity anymore. Nonetheless, in this case, where the case is that this Ma'aser Sheni entered Yerushalayim, so even though you're redeeming it, nonetheless, it has to be in Yerushalayim, unless the case is where it became Tamei through a primary source of Tumah, means it became Tamei midaraisa outside of Yerushalayim. That's Beis Shammai's opinion. So again, we have the situation where the Ma'aser Sheni is Tamei, and we're saying, and whether it's Tamei midaraisa midrabanan, we're saying like this. In the case where it became Tamei inside Yerushalayim, then the halacha is that you can redeem it because it's Tamei. Can you take it out? Beis Shammai say you should not take it out, even though it's been redeemed. The reason is because in these cases, Beis Shammai was concerned that people would see that this was Ma'aser Sheni that came into Yerushalayim. They're not going to know it became impure. And then when you take it out, they're going to say, hey, he's taking Ma'aser Sheni outside of Yerushalayim. And I'll do that. And therefore, Beis Shammai said, don't do that. Don't take it out. Now you may ask, If the concern is that people are going to suspect you of wrongdoing because they don't know it became tamei, well, then why do we say you could redeem it at all? Normally, you can't redeem Meiser Sheni. It's only because it became tamei. Well, if people don't read, maybe the same thing. People won't realize it became tamei. They're going to see you redeeming it, and they're going to say, "Hey, he's redeeming Meiser Sheni Yerushalayim. How can you do that?" Or they're going to say, "We can do that too." The answer to that is that redeeming is done privately, so nobody really knows: did you redeem it? Did you not redeem it? No one's going to see that. But when you take something out of Yerushalayim, that's public, and therefore there are concerns that people will say that, look, he's taking Meiser Sheni outside of Yerushalayim after it came in. The only time that's not going to be a concern is when it became tamei as an avatuma on the outside. That means before it entered Yerushalayim, midaraisa was tamei. That means midaraisa, because it was tamei, it wasn't going to remain Meiser Sheni. And when something is tamei midaraisa and it enters Yerushalayim, then the whole concept, which is really a rabbinic concept, that once it's in the walls of Yerushalayim and can't go out anymore, doesn't apply. If it became only impure rabbinically, that means midaraisa, it's still okay, and then it goes into Yerushalayim, you can't take it out. According to Beis Shammai, you can't take it out. But if we're talking about that it became tamei minat Torah, it became tamei from the Torah law, and it has that severe impurity, then already we say the whole idea that once it enters Yerushalayim, it can't go out, doesn't apply. Halachically, doesn't apply. But you may say, what about the concern about people who are going to see it going in and going out? And that the answer is that if Meiser Sheni became really tamei midaraisa according to Torah law, it seems to be that everybody knew about that. It was big news. And therefore, people realized what was going on. And therefore, if before it entered, it was already tamei, according to the actual law, the walls of Yerushalayim don't grab hold of it, so to speak, and not let it out. And the concern about people thinking that what goes in, the Meiser Sheni goes in, can go out, because I may not know it's tamei, doesn't apply in this kind of case when it was tamei midaraisa before it came in. That's only going to be a concern in the other cases. Okay? So that's Beis Shammai's opinion. Beis Hillel say, Hakol yipad v'yachal b'chutz. Everything can be redeemed and eaten outside. Chutz mishnit mevlad atuma bifnim. Unless it became tamei from the secondary tuma, meaning it only became rabbinically impure, and it happened inside. So let's understand Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel say everything is redeemed. It's impure. You can redeem it. V'yachal b'chutz. You can even eat it outside. You can eat it outside because Beis Hillel doesn't have this concern that people aren't going to know it became tamei, and they're going to suspect you of taking out Meiser Sheni from Yerushalayim. He's not concerned with that. What he is concerned with is that when the case where it became tamei would have vlada tuma inside. That means it entered Yerushalayim and it was pure. It became impure through a rabbinic source of tuma. That means when it went in, it was pure. When it went in, the law of Yerushalayim takes hold, doesn't let it out, should apply. Does apply at that point. Now you want to say, but wait a minute, it became impure. Once it becomes impure, according to Torah law, you're allowed to redeem it, which would mean you could take it out. But we're talking about here of Vlada Tuma. It became tamei from a secondary source, which we said means it's only rabbinically impure. That means midaraisa, it's still pure. If midaraisa, according to Torah law, it's really still pure, then this law of not taking it out, which is rabbinic in nature, will still apply. If when it went in, it was pure. When it went in, the law of not letting it go out took hold. Now you want to say it shouldn't take hold anymore because it became impure. If it only became impure, midrabanan, according to rabbinic law, meaning midaraisa, it's still okay, then we say you can't take it out. But otherwise, you could take it out. Now, here's a question, so it needs to be explained about this last case. Okay? This last case, actually, which case? 1 minute. When it became tamei, right? Right. Okay. So Beis Hillel say that if it became tamei on the inside, then we say, okay, it already came in, then it's not an issue. I'm sorry, when it became in, it can't go out. When it went in, the law applied. It's only tamei midrabanan, and therefore the halacha is that it has to stay inside. But from the fact that Beis Shammai said this only applies in a case where it became tamei, according to rabbinic, based on a rabbinic source of impurity inside, then that would imply that if it happened outside, that if it became rabbinically tamei outside of Yerushalayim, it wouldn't be a problem of going out even after it went in, because that's the case. The cases that we're talking about are whether it started to become tamei, whether it became tamei outside and went back in. So Beis Hillel only have a problem with this if it was to only have a problem with taking it out if it became tamei from rabbinic source inside Yerushalayim. Then we say it can't come out. But if it was outside of Yerushalayim when that happened, it's not a problem when it goes in. And the question is why? At the end of the day, it's only rabbinically impure. According to Torah law, it is pure. And therefore, once it goes in, it shouldn't be any worse than when it became tamei on the inside. Because according to Torah law, it's fine. So the law that the walls of Yerushalayim take hold should apply. Why not? Midaraisa, it's still pure. It's really nothing. It's not much different than the case before when it started off inside. The idea is the same. Since, according to Torah law, this is not tamei, it's still edible, then the walls take hold of it, it can't go out. So what's the difference if it became tamei inside or outside? If it's a rabbinic impurity, according to Torah law, it's still edible, the walls should take hold and not let it go out again. So the Rav explains that this last case that we're talking about, meaning this very case to say that if it became impure outside, that it would be able to come back out, is talking about when the person made a condition, made a stipulation. This is the source of this is the Talmud Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud, that if a person says, I'm bringing this Meiser Sheni into Yerushalayim on the condition that I can take it out, then it works. It works because midrabanan, the whole idea that it can't go out, meaning the whole idea that once it goes in, it can't go out, is a rabbinic law. As we said before, according to Torah law, you can't redeem it inside. But according to Torah law, if you took it out, want to redeem it out after it came in, it would be okay. The rabbi said you can't take it out. Now, so therefore, the rabbi said that there are going to be cases where if you stipulate that I should be able to take it out, then it works. And this is that case. In the case where it became impure, midrabanan, but it became impure outside of Yerushalayim, according to rabbinic law, became tamei outside of Yerushalayim, and there, if you make the stipulation, I don't want the walls to take hold of it, that I can't take it out, it works then. It's not now in the case where, it was tamei midaraisa outside the walls, meaning it became tamei outside of Yerushalayim, midaraisa, that we already said before in Beis Shammai, which Beis Hillel agree, the halacha is that situation. It's tamei midaraisa. You can't eat it according to Torah law. The walls never take hold of it. That law never applied to that. But here we're talking about where it was only tamei midrabanan. So there we say, if you make the stipulation that I want to be able to take it out after it goes in the case where it became impure, and it's impure midrabanan, but I made the stipulation then the halacha is that I can take it back out. So if it became tamei inside, I didn't make the stipulation. I had no reason to make the stipulation. Not only that, my understanding is you can't make the stipulation. On regular, fine, pure Meiser Sheni, you can't make the stipulation to say, I'm bringing it in on the condition I can take it out. I don't believe you could do that then. But in a case where it's tamei midrabanan, practically speaking, you're not going to be able to eat it anyway. You're going to have to redeem it. So then we say that the condition to say that the walls won't take hold of it will work. And therefore, that's when Beis Hillel say that everything can be eaten outside, I mean, you can redeem it and bring it back out, except for the situation of something becoming tamei with a lot of tuma midrabanan, meaning it became tamei midrabanan inside. Inside, because it started off pure, with the rule that the walls take hold of it, doesn't change if it only becomes tamei midrabanan. It became tamei midaraisa, you can take it out. That wouldn't be a question. It's only tamei midrabanan, which means according to Torah law, it's still good, can't go out. if this happened and it became Tamei Midrabanan outside the walls of Yerushalayim, so if you didn't stipulate anything and you just brought it in, you can't take it out. But if you did stipulate, in this case where it became Tamei Midrabanan, before it went in, you stipulated, I don't want the walls to take hold of it, I want to be able to take it out, then the stipulation would work. Right, in the Chavetz Chaim, Laws of Lashon Harah, Klal Daled, chapter 4, paragraph 10, paragraph 9. Let's now return to what we started off with. The Mimash Gasav Reish HaSimen, Nilmaid. Based on what we have been discussing at the beginning of this chapter, we learn, Tell the Chavetz Chaim is talking about you saw a person actually do a sin. And the Chavetz Chaim said that's not licensed to go ahead. There's no leniency to go ahead and tell others about it. And based on if that's true, then what's also true is that if, let's say, you see a person has bad character traits, that also doesn't allow you to go tell other people about it. You see that he acted haughtily. Again, he got angry for no good reason. Or whatever other negative traits there are. This is definitely a derogatory statement about a person. Even though, and it could be true, or it is true, you know it, you saw it. How do you know he didn't repent for it? And that he's full of regret for these bad traits. And let's say you see it's not just one time. This person is habitually has this. It's part of his habit. It's part of the way he does things. Shows no regret for any of these actions, any of these bad traits. You still can't go and put him down for it. And perhaps doesn't realize how severe the prohibitions are. These bad traits may not be Torah prohibitions. And nonetheless, though, these are things that one may not do. Bad character is something that you may not do because it's bad character. It's in many ways, it's the basic makeup of a person. We see by many people, including people who are knowledgeable in Torah, they don't look at these bad traits like having a bad temper as anything that's such a terrible thing. They don't realize how serious it is, and truthfully it is. If you study the words of our sages, you look in the words of the prophets, you see how bad these traits are in the Torah also. They think it's not a proper thing to do. Now maybe this person who has this trait on a regular basis also thinks that way. We need to understand, be told, we need to know the severity of having these traits, the seriousness of having these traits. Perhaps he would find the strength within himself not to transgress on them. If you see a person who has this bad trait on a regular basis, you should go over to the person and point out to him the severity of these things. By doing so, fulfill the mitzvah of rebuke your friend. And perhaps they'll even agree that he's actually wrong. But now he thought he was okay. He didn't realize it was that bad. As the scripture says, every person thinks his way is straight. And therefore it's forbidden to presume or to consider him a Russian person and to be able to go and tell other people about this. Have a wonderful day.